Hello, my dear students. Welcome to this new class. This is Entrepreneurship 2. I'm Miss Tania Poveda. Well, it's very important, like always, that you download the information and save it on your computer, so you will have the chance to check it later, okay? Anyway, you will receive this link and watch it later if you need to. So, as you already realized, sometimes I work on a summary for you after a few classes. So this is going to be summary 1 about focus group. Okay, so we've been talking about investigation techniques and market, and we already know that investigation techniques are the ways we use to collect information from the market. We already know that. So what is a market? Yes, it's a group of people, possible clients, people that might buy your products, etc., etc. Okay, so just to remember, products can be touchable or untouchable, right? If they are touchable, we technically call them goods. Yes, in plural, goods. So those are the things we can touch, like your cell phone, like your computer, like your hamburger, your clothes, your shoes, etc. And those products that we cannot touch, so obviously we call them untouchable, they are technically called services. So those are products. Well, again, according to the market, you should, you must, you have to, you need to choose the most accurate investigation technique. Remember that you cannot use all investigation techniques for all markets because each group of people is different from others. It's special, it's unique. So according to your market, you're going to choose the best investigation technique. So far, we have studied surveys, interviews, and focus group. Last week, we had the last class about focus group. So you will probably remember most of the information I'm going to review today. So here, you are going to watch again, and please pay attention again, how it started and when. So these are the two questions you should keep in your head while watching the video. When, you probably already know the answer, and why or what for or how. Okay, so when it started and how it started. We're talking about focus group. Do you remember when it started? So it is like something new, like in the 20s, like this year, or maybe like 10 years ago, or maybe more. Okay, so it started like something in the beginning for something commercial or something political. Okay, let's watch the video. Let's remember this. I know you already watched this video, but it's okay if we watch it again because it's going to help us to review as I wanted to do this summary. Okay, here we go.
Why do we buy certain products or choose certain brands? This is the sort of question advertisers have always asked, and there are no easy answers. However, there is a handy tool that helps companies explore this and similar questions, and it's called the focus group. Until the 1940s, market research was often quantitative, using things like sales figures and customer polls to track consumption. But this changed during World War II. Sociologists Robert Merton and Paul Lazarsfeld set out to learn how unprecedented exposure to wartime propaganda was affecting the public. Instead of polling large numbers of people with straightforward questions and quantifiable answers, the researchers conducted in-person interviews, sometimes with small groups, engaging them in more open discussions. Later, this method was picked up by the advertising industry with the help of consultants like Austrian-born psychologist Ernest Dichter, who first coined the term focus group. This new technique was a type of qualitative research, focused on the nature of people's preferences and thoughts. It couldn't tell marketers what percentage of people buy a certain product or brand, but it could tell them more about the people who do, their reasoning for doing so, and even the unconscious motivations behind those reasons. Rather than providing definite conclusions for business and sales, focus groups would be used for exploratory research, generating new ideas for products and marketing based on deeper understanding of consumer habits. For example, early focus groups found that contrary to popular opinion at the time, wives often had more influence than their husbands when choosing which car to buy. So Chrysler shifted gears by marketing cars directly to women. And Dr. Dichter himself conducted focus groups for Mattel to learn what girls wanted in a doll. The result was the original Barbie doll. So, how does a focus group work? First, companies recruit between 6 and 10 participants according to specific criteria that meet their research objectives. They could be mothers of children between 5 and 7, or teenagers planning to buy a new phone in the next 3 months. This is often done through professional recruiters who manage lists of people who've agreed to participate in focus groups for payment or other rewards. During a session, participants are asked to respond to various prompts from the group moderator, like sharing their opinions on a certain product or their emotional reactions to an advertisement. They may even be asked to do seemingly unrelated tasks, like imagining brands as animals in a zoo. The idea is that this can reveal useful information about the participants' feelings that traditional questions might not get to. Beyond these basics, many variations are possible. A focus group may have 2 or more moderators, perhaps taking opposite sides on a question. Or a researcher might be hidden in the focus group, unknown to other participants, to see how their answers can be influenced. And the whole process may also be observed by researchers through a one-way mirror. But although they can provide valuable insight, focus groups do have their limitations, and one of the main ones is that the simple act of observing something can change it. This principle is called observer interference. The answers participants give are likely to be affected by the presence of the researchers, social pressure from the rest of the group, or simply knowing that they're taking part in a focus group. And because researchers often use a small sample size in a specific setting, it's hard to generalize their results. The findings that researchers do reach from focus groups are often tested through experiments and data gathering. Those put numbers on questions like how many potential customers there are and what price they'd be willing to pay. This part of the process changes as technology evolves. But focus groups have remained largely the same for decades. Perhaps when it comes to the big important questions, there's no substitute for people genuinely interacting with each other.
Okay, so if you pay attention in the beginning of the video, I asked you to pay attention if it was something political or commercial. So did you pay attention? What's the answer? It started like a political strategy or like a commercial strategy? Well, yeah, it started as something political. Do you remember when? It was about 1940s, right? Something like that. So something was happening around the world, something very important, wars and businesses, and they started working on knowing what people think about political issues. And they realized that they could use the same technique for commercial situations, like we can see here in the picture. So it started with something political, yes, like getting to know what people think about the president and other political situations, and then they started using to know what people think about the product, and use this information for advertisement, as you can see here. So this is Ernest Ditcher, the creator of this technique. And well, in the future, we're going to review about the focus group, the kind of people you are going to have in a focus group, the size of the sample, etc. Right? But I like to check on this. Where are they? So here, I don't know if you remember this part of the video, but these are women. Apparently they are mothers and they have kids with similar ages. So that's what they have in common. So it's very important when working on a focus group, just like we studied last week. Okay, so now let's check on some advantages and disadvantages of focus group. So you probably remember from 3 weeks ago, maybe, or 4, or from the video, some of the advantages and disadvantages of working on a focus group, which is an investigation technique. Anyway, here we have. Some of the advantages are that we can see the face expressions. We can see how people react to our questions or to other person's questions. And remember, body language says a lot. So that's very important. Different than a survey. In a survey, people just click on an answer and that's it. You never see the face, you don't even know the name of that person. But here you can see their expressions. You can hear social clues in language expressions, like sounds. Sometimes we are like, okay, yeah. So it's not the answer, it's how you say it. It also provides insights on the most appropriate way to talk about products, services, brands, etc. So people get connected to the situation and people can tell you more accurate information about that. What about the disadvantages? What is negative about focus group? So in my opinion, the biggest disadvantage is that it's a really small sample. So if you have a market of, let's say, 10,000 people or possible clients, 10,000 possible clients, and you have a small group like 6 or 8 people, probably they are not going to represent most of your clients or possible clients. So that's a really big disadvantage. And that's why in the future you will realize or know that only one focus group is not enough. These are results that you can't project because the sample is too little, too small. It's an artificial environment, so people get pressure like, oh, I have to behave, or maybe I don't tell this because it's rude or mean, or I wanted to be accepted by my partners here in the group. So you say what they want to hear, but not what you really think. Lack of anonymity is like, okay, you are sitting there in front of other people and everybody knows your name, your face. So you're like kind of taking care of your gestures, your words, your behavior. So it's kind of unnatural. And potentially based on results due group influence. Yeah, probably I already said this, but maybe you're thinking something, but everybody else think the opposite. So you don't want to fight or you don't want to feel rejected. So you are accept and you act like everything is okay when you are not being yourself. So these are the biggest advantages and disadvantages of focus group. Like all investigation techniques, they have advantages and disadvantages. And that's something that all investigators or researchers know. So when you work with numbers and statistics numbers, statistical, there is a percentage that you consider as wrong answers, and they are part of the investigation. But you will know more about that when you study marketing or something more specific, like statistics or in mathematics. So if you have the chance, ask your mathematics teacher about Gauss-Bell. She or he will know about that, and they're going to probably explain a lot much better about this. So these are the stages you must follow during a focus group. Opening, yes, you icebreaker, explain everybody, ground rules, introductions, etc. You introduce yourself, you welcome people, etc. Then you have a warm-up, so you get people relaxed, trying to get some interaction, and you start with simple questions, so people start feeling comfortable. Number 3, Move to more threatening or sensitive and complex questions, elicit deep responses, connect emergent data to complex, broad participation. So stage number 3 is like the most important one, because here is when you are going to get the information you need. I'm not going to say the information you want, because probably they are going to tell you things that you don't want to, but the things that you need to know so you can improve your product, you can take good decisions. And closure, which is when you close, you say thank you, everybody. You summarize what you were talking about. You invite to comments, and that's it. So these are the 4 stages when dealing with a focus group. So just to remember, what is a focus group? Why would you use one after all the disadvantages that we just read? How can I do it well? So remember that a focus group, obviously it's a group of people, but what is more important, it's that it's a group between 6 or 8 people gathering at the same time in a room with similar characteristics, talking about a product. Just like we read here. So the maximum amount of people you should have is 8 people, and you should or you must have good questions to deal with the group. It's a terrible idea to have personal questions or socially awkward questions or controversial topics or questions, so be careful with that. A focus group can be an extremely efficient way to gather qualitative data, and here it's why you choose focus group instead of a survey, for example. Why, if it's so little sample, it would be good? Because during a focus group, you are going to get qualitative data. It means more detailed information from the client directly than any other investigation technique. They can also be a disaster if you are not careful. Be careful with your questions. Be careful with your face expressions, with your body language, with the way you deal with people. Remember, you don't want people uncomfortable. So avoid unstructured conversations. If you are not ready for a conversation, avoid that. Okay, follow the plan. Follow the rules. Follow your questions. Avoid controversial situations, especially if you are not an expert and you can't deal with that. So that's why it's a very an important recommendation that you end your focus group with experts in the field. So probably you're a very good researcher, you're really good leading with groups of people, and you have your questions and you organize very well your investigation and everything, but maybe this is something you don't know enough, like to be a specialist. So you can invite someone that knows better than you, and it's okay, because people will feel important, and also they will get information from the precise person, from the expert. So don't feel uncomfortable because you are not the expert. It's okay. You are expert on something and other people are experts on something else. That's fine. So then the interview of focus group with experts in the field of your research to help you explain your findings. Remember that I told you that a focus group is a qualitative investigation? Remember that qualitative is when we're talking about open questions, when people can freely talk about what they want, about what they feel, about their opinions, about different topics. So one of the advantages says that you can get deeper information, most accurate. So that's why if you have an expert there besides you, because you are dealing with the questions and leading the investigation, but if you have an expert there with you, you give other people the opportunity to talk to this person and ask more specific questions and feel comfortable asking, because they will know that they are going to receive an answer from someone that knows a lot. So this was summary number 1. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm very happy with you watching the videos, doing your homework, but especially staying home, washing your hands. So please stay home, be healthy, take care of your family, take care of yourself. Thank you very much for your attention, guys. Have a wonderful day and see you next week. Bye-bye.